Yeah. Well, now it tells me the video is starting again. I don't know. It's doing the same thing it did before. Oh, here we go. Now it tells me we're live. So thank goodness we got the right connection finally. As I mentioned earlier, if you didn't catch it, I'm going to do a devotion each Wednesday night. Tonight I'm going to do two hymns and look at Psalm 27, which is the psalm for this coming Sunday. I don't use the psalms on Sunday morning in my worship services, so that's what I'm going to do tonight. To start with, tonight I'm going to sing hymn number 489 out of the green LBW, Wide Open Are Your Hands. Wide open are your hands to pay with more than gold the awful debt of guilt and sin forever and of old. Ah, let me grasp those hands that we may never part, and let the power of their blood sustain my fainting heart. Wide open are your arms, a fallen world to embrace, to win to love and endless rest our wayward human race. Lord, I am sad and poor, but boundless is your grace. Give me the soul-transforming joy for which I seek your face. All my mind and heart up to your throne on high, and let your sacred cross exalt my spirit to the sky. To these your mighty hands my spirit I resign. In life I live alone to you, in death am yours alone. As I was looking through my hymnal earlier for songs to do tonight and other nights, I was looking through and I found a lot of songs that I thought, man, I haven't sung this one for a long time. I haven't done this one for a long time. And it's just a reminder to me again that there are an awful lot of good hymns in this green hymnal and in the cranberry hymnal as well. There's just a lot of really good music and a lot of good meaning to those songs. And this one, with Jesus, wide open are your arms, and it is. He's there for us each and every day. And the very last, he always says, I live to you alone, in death I am yours alone. And so whether we live or whether we die, we are the Lord's, to quote from Paul in Romans. Psalm 27 is a declaration of faith, and I will read it in its entirety, and then I'll talk a little bit about it with you. The Lord is my light and my salvation. Whom shall I fear? The Lord is the strength of my life. Of whom shall I be afraid? When the wicked come against me to eat up my flesh, my enemies and my foes, they stumbled and fell. Though an army may encamp against me, my heart shall not fear. Though war may rise against me, in this I will be confident. One thing I have desired of the Lord, that I will seek, that I may dwell in the house of the Lord all the days of my life, to behold the beauty of the Lord, and to inquire in his temple. For in the time of trouble he shall hide me in his pavilion. In the secret place of his tabernacle he will hide me. He will set me high upon a rock, and my enemies will be lifted up above my enemies all around me. Therefore, I will offer sacrifices of joy in the tabernacle. I will sing. Yes, I will sing praises to the Lord. Hear, O Lord, when I cry with my voice. Have mercy also upon me, and answer me. When you said, Seek my face, my heart said to you, Your face, Lord, I will seek. Do not hide your face from me. Do not turn your servant away in anger. You have been my help. Do not leave me or forsake me, O God of my salvation. When my father and my mother forsook me, then the Lord will take care of me. Teach me your ways, O Lord, and lead me in a smooth path because of my enemies. Do not deliver me to the will of my adversaries, for false witnesses have risen against me, and as such they breathe out violence. I would have lost heart had I not believed that I would see the goodness of the Lord in the land of the living. Wait on the Lord. Be of good courage, and he will strengthen your heart. Wait, I say, upon the Lord. So there's, David wrote this psalm at the time when, his enemies were gathering around. He was feeling persecuted. He was being hunted. I mean, King David, we often think of him as having, a great life, that everything was, coming up roses, so to speak. But, when we really look at David's life and, how Saul was king, and then God was upset with Saul, so he anointed David king. Well, Saul was still king. Two kings of the same country. And of course, Saul didn't like that. Even though, Saul, had David in his castle, helping him, and David and Saul's son Jonathan were good friends. And when the times were that Saul was pursuing David, trying to kill him, Jonathan, Saul's son, was looking out for David and speaking to his father on David's behalf. Yeah, but yet there were enemies of David that were speaking bad things to Saul as well, and other leaders and rulers were seeking David as well. But here, this psalm begins, The Lord is my light and my salvation. Whom shall I fear? The Lord is the strength of my life. Of whom shall I be afraid? With God on our side, who should we be afraid of? Well, the answer is nobody. What should we be afraid of? Nothing. And it's hard to really kind of grasp that, to not be afraid of anybody or anything, because there are an awful lot of things that frighten us. Growing up, maybe the sound of thunder, or different things. I mean, and there are some things yet that happen today that just kind of I can feel the tension come in my body from things that I'm not comfortable with, and but yet I know that I shouldn't be afraid of that, and it's hard not to. It's just like saying, don't worry, when we hear that, don't worry, don't be afraid, so many times in the Bible, but it's hard to just say, I don't fear that. And, as we were going through here further on, lead me in a smooth path because of my enemies. Do not deliver me to the will of my adversaries, for false witnesses have risen against me. Some of those words, lead me on a smooth path, by the, in the 23rd Psalm, we have that, the still waters and paths of righteousness, and, it's kind of echoing that to me. And yet, we come with this, false witnesses have risen against me. And as I read that again this afternoon, I had confirmation class, we talked about, thou shalt not steal, thou shalt not covet, and thou shalt not bear false witness. And, so here we get these false witnesses have risen against King David. And we know also that false witnesses rose against Jesus. And that when Jesus was arrested by the temple police, and taken before the high priest, Caiaphas, and all of the rest of the Pharisees and the scribes that were gathered, they were seeking witnesses, people to testify some terrible things that Jesus had done, that, so that it would be with the death penalty. That was how badly they wanted to get rid of him. They would get people to lie, but they couldn't get people to agree on the lies. The false witnesses were, just scattered around. But yet there was a lot of false testimony about Jesus. And when he was finally asked, are you the king of the Jews? Are you the Messiah? It is as you say. And then boom, that was blasphemy. And that was the last straw. But there were many people that talked and lied about Jesus and breathed out violence against him. And so just as I read this psalm, thinking about King David and everything he was going through and how he was confessing his faith in this God who protected him. And there are times, one of the examples of how God protected David was that as he was hiding in a cave, David was hiding way back in the cave, and there was a spider web, so they figured, well, he can't be in there because he just was here. And then Saul went in the same cave, and but yet God was protecting David in the midst of all of that. Verse 2: when the wicked come against me to eat my flesh, my enemies, my foes, they stumbled and fell. There's a lot of people out looking. And then verse 3 again: though an army may encamp against me, my heart shall not fear. Think about that. An army camp against me, against one person. Though war may rise against me, in this I'll be confident. He trusted in God's love and in God's protection, and just he knew that God was with him. Even though his enemies were there, and Saul was breathing vengeance, and Saul wanted in the worst way. He put a price on his head, and Saul was out with the armies pursuing David, and David is by himself, one against all of those people, and yet he has confidence in God. He says, one thing I have desired, that I seek, that I may dwell in the house of the Lord all the days of my life. And doesn't that echo the last verse of Psalm 23? I will live in the house of the Lord forever. It's just that promise that he has, and he knows that the temple of the Lord and the heavens. He talks about the heavens in this way: the beauty of the Lord, to inquire of in his temple. He set me high upon a rock, and my head will be lifted up above my enemies. And then I will sing praises to the Lord. And so it's just this absolute confidence in, and I've referred to hope. Christian hope is a confident expectation that God is true to his word. And this is what David models. He has that absolute confident expectation in God and in God's grace and in God's faithfulness, and yet he cries out, verse 7, hear me, O Lord, when I cry, have mercy upon me and answer me. And then he says, when you said, seek my face, David responds, I do seek your face. Do not hide from me, don't turn your servant away. You have been my help, so just that confidence that no matter what David is going through, that he knows that he can rely on God. In verse 10, when my mother and father forsake me, the Lord will take care of me. So, even, and he looked at Saul as a father figure. Saul wasn't his father. Jesse, was his father. But he looked at Saul as a father figure. So he was serving in the house of the king, And so the king and the queen, turn against him. But yet, David trusts that the Lord is there with him always. And again, just, the last verse, wait on the Lord, be of good courage. He will strengthen your heart. It's just, sometimes, God seems to be really slow. Really? Huh? We pray and we wonder, where are you? Are you listening? Do you hear my prayer? Why haven't you done anything about this? And there's so many things in the world today that, that just, people just say, well, why doesn't God do something? Well, my answer to that, God did do something. He did it about 2,000 years ago when Jesus came into this world, lived as a man, the Holy One of God, the second part of the Trinity, the triune God, came to be a man. So we had this God-man living on earth, and he gave himself for you and for me. And that's what we look for during this season of Lent. Most of the texts that we have during this season of Lent, and actually a lot of the texts that we have, during the course of Pentecost, the time after Easter, are parables or things that Jesus did, things that happened after Jesus had set his face toward Jerusalem. I think it's in chapter 9 of Luke that Jesus sets his face toward Jerusalem, and he doesn't get there till chapter 19. And then the rest of the chapters are from, Palm Sunday until the resurrection. So there's 10 chapters that happen that are dealing with the time that Jesus, toward the end of his 3 years of ministry, as he has set his face toward Jerusalem, he has told his disciples for the third time what's going to happen in Jerusalem. And he goes determined to do the will of the Father. And Jesus is one that models for us, this wait on the Lord. Be of good courage, and he will strengthen your heart. And I think about that, he will strengthen your heart. I think about the prayer that Jesus prayed in the garden on that night just shortly before he was arrested. If it be possible, let this pass me by, but not my will, but your will be done. Now that's confidence in God. Even though on the cross we hear those words, my God, why hast thou forsaken me? That's Psalm 22, beginning of it. And it's a psalm that starts out with just this feeling of being lost, of being empty and being alone. And maybe I'll look at that psalm more another night. I'm sure I will. But it again turns to that faith in God, and to know that God is always there. And it's, so as on the cross we hear Jesus' words, my God, why hast thou forsaken me? He also, into your hands I commend my spirit. So we trust in God, in and through all things. And is it read in there as well, or in the song that I sang, I live to you alone, in death I'm yours alone. So it's that reminder for us always that, death is as near as our next breath, or our next breath that doesn't come. But God's love is closer than even that. And so it's just some things to think about and to think and to ponder about the beauty of the words of the Bible, the beauty of Jesus' sacrifice for you and for me, and the love that God has for each and every one of us. There's a section in the hymnal that are evening prayers, or songs rather, for the evening. And one of them is, Now the Day is Over. And many years ago, when my sister Ann was practicing piano at the house in McHenry where we grew up, she was playing this song as I came in, and I started singing the bass line to it, and she stopped playing. She says, what are you singing? You got the right words. And I simply said to her, look at the notes your bass is playing. And So as I sing this tonight, I'm going to sing 4 verses. The second verse, I'm going to sing the bass line, and I hope that's okay. Now the day is over, night is drawing nigh, shadows of the evening steal across the sky. Jesus, give the weary calm and sweet repose. With your tenderest blessing, may our eyelids close. Comfort every sufferer, watching late in pain, those who plan some evil from their sin restrain. Through the long night watches, may your angels spread their bright wings above me, watching round my bed. I started singing that bass line again. It's one of those, it's always caught me, yeah, and I sing bass, if I sing in a group, and a lot of songs I miss singing the bass note line on, but I figure for the most part when I'm leading worship I need to sing the melody, because I know that there was a church that we'd go to once in a while. They had 2 song leaders. One would sing the soprano lead part and the other would sing the alto part, and the alto voice was much stronger than the soprano, and often they were kind of unfamiliar songs, and so I know that it's good to have a song leader that's singing the melody lines, and so and most of the hymns have got a really sweet melody too, and that song I just sang, Now the Day is Over, when you sing the melody line of it, it's so soft and contemplative, and just a reminder that, now the day is over, and we turn to God and just entrust our souls and our well-being to God until the morning comes. So thanks for tuning in tonight, and I'll be back for morning devotions, of course, and Sunday morning worship, and then again next Wednesday night I'll be back, and we'll talk about another psalm.